These colorful blooms are a sure sign that spring is upon us, as if the warmer temperatures and the change of calendar weren't enough to tell us. Spring is a message that we need really. It's so important to us at this time of year. It's important to us because we're in the midst of all of the adaptations that we're making because of the coronavirus pandemic and the stay-at-home orders. And I know that many of us are just feeling completely cooped up and stuck from this. So spring is just a great sign that life is emerging all around us. Now, for other people, the message of spring seems like, well, it's kind of wasted because we can't get out and do the things that we want to do. We'd love to be out with our family and our friends. We'd love to be at our favorite restaurants. We'd love to be able to enjoy that. And it feels like we can't. Sometimes those can be signs of things that we've lost as much as the things that we've gained. I'm mindful that we're in the midst not just of spring, but of Holy Week. We're in the week that we would be preparing for Easter celebration and all of the worship services that go with this week. On a typical year, I'd be checking in with our worship leaders and our musicians. I'd be working on making sure all our bulletins are ready and all of the spaces are ready that we need for all of the worship services going on. And I'd be preparing and rehearsing with the Herald Brass and then waiting to hear how the professionals do it when they come for Easter services. We'd have flowers, dozens and dozens of flower plants arriving to set up and just setting all the spaces and making them beautiful. And maybe you have in your own family and friends some traditions that surround your celebration as well, like a fancy meal or going out for a banquet, a buffet dinner on Easter Sunday. All of those things are great because they keep us excited and they help us to build traditions together. But I'm mindful that Easter isn't about any of those things. And while we have to do without them this year, maybe it's actually a sign that reminds us what Easter is all about. That first Easter day, it was just 3 women who went to the tomb and a couple of disciples who ran ahead to see the news. It didn't require large crowds of people dressed in their Sunday finest. It was just people seeing the message of resurrection, finding out about the risen Christ. The message of resurrection is that death had no hold over Jesus. And that isn't just a message that Christ is risen, it's a message of new life for each one of us too. Death does not have the final word. No matter how we're getting up and checking the news to see what the toll has been today, we need this message of resurrection to remind us that new life is among us and that God is always about bringing new life out of darkness. There's one other plant I want you to see, and it's down here. It's a fascinating plant because it's also a daffodil like those ones we started with, but this one's a little different. It's white while the other ones were yellow. We didn't plant this here, and no one would plant a daffodil under a shrub. We don't really know how it got here. It probably came from some overzealous squirrel who dug it up and thought he'd come back to it later. But here it is, and nevertheless, it has grown, and it's flowered, and it's doing well. It's remarkably resilient. And I think that's so emblematic of Easter this year, is that sometimes life comes in the most unexpected places. So as you're celebrating with family, and yes, we're having to do that differently this year, I encourage you to look for signs of new life around you in places you might not expect it. The message of Easter is a message of new life coming out of darkness and always emerging. God is always longing to bring new life in each one of us. May it be so for you and for those you love this Easter. God bless us, all of us.